Razorback Nation, what is up? We're back at you with another episode of Razor Recap, part of Hawgs on the Hill, your go-to podcast for an in-depth dive on all things Arkansas Razorbacks. We're brought to you by our friends over at Razor Pigs. Looking good, never felt so fun. Razor Pigs is the Arkansas-born brand, bringing some serious style to the golf course, tailgate, and everywhere in between. From high-quality polos to head-turning hats, they've got what you need to rep the natural state with pride. Founded right here at home and now run by a Razorback-loving family, Razor Pigs is where comfort meets cool. So go hog wild and shop Razor Pigs today at razorpigs.us and Scarlet Letter, Arkansas's very own handcrafted spiked seltzer. You can check them out today. And if you are in Northwest Arkansas, check out the Core Brewery Tap Room, where you can get Scarlet Letter in all its various flavors, as well as their new hard iced teas that they launched. Sunday afternoon, another Razorback defeat. How are we feeling today, Austin?
Nah, just numb to it. It's like it doesn't even matter at this point. I'm more interested in seeing who's going to be the next head coach than I am about Arkansas winning. I never turn Arkansas games off or watch something else. At halftime, Arkansas is still winning, mind you. But right. I can already see the writing on the wall. I already know how this is going to end. And it ended exactly the way I thought it was going to end. So I was like, why keep watching this rerun when I can, do something else? Right. I didn't, and now I regret it. For a second there, I was like, hey, you know what? Maybe we'll have something different. And then about 6 minutes left in the fourth, that just like Thelma and Louise just blew up.
Right. Yeah. You look at Arkansas jumps out to a 14-0 lead in this game. You're like, okay, feeling pretty good. And then, of course, we let them score 16 points in the second quarter. And then you get the fiery interview, quick little snippet from Petrino as we're going in the locker room at halftime. You're like, okay, we might come out the second half and, pull out all the stops, whatnot. No. Arkansas comes out, scores 8 more points, gets back in the lead. And then LSU goes down and scores to take a 1-point lead. And Arkansas had its chances right there at the end of the game. Unfortunately, Hobbs isn't here, but Hobbs' guy, Scott Starzik, misses the field goal that would have put Arkansas in the lead for this game. But then you look at it, LSU gets the ball back, and, at this point, they probably score. You saw that last play where, they hit the running back out of the backfield and he just slides down. Not saying that exact same thing would have happened if we would have got the field goal, but, you look at that same situation, they score right there, even if Arkansas gets the lead. So, like, to your point, numb to it, didn't really expect anything else. Same story, different week. Another one possession loss for this team where, they had good moments. And, you have a game where Talon throws 2 interceptions in this game. And part of me was thinking, all right, you got, 2 more games left in the season after this one. What does it hurt to play KJ Jackson in the second half? Not necessarily saying, hey, let's just flat out bench Talon, but hey, see if KJ Jackson can get anything going, because Talon wasn't having his best day. Mike Washington looked pretty good, for the most part without Braylon Russell. You saw Rodney Hill get, a carry, a pass, not as involved as what we might have thought, in a backup running back type of role with Braylon Russell being out. But, overall, tale of 2 halves for the most part for this Arkansas team.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of saw Raylan Sharp get more attempts than Rodney Hill. That's kind of ridiculous to me, but it is what it is. Hey, one note, how about Devin Bale? Like, obviously the best player on Arkansas's roster right now, because the dude's just killing it as a punter. But you also got to see Cam Shanks do what he came to Arkansas to do, and had that really, really nice return. It was like 40 yards. Let's see, right. No, 25 yards, but
it's still more than what we've seen all season.
Right. And so that's, there's some positives, right? I mean, nothing that really matters, but, looking on the bright side, it's not total doom and gloom, right? But at the same time, it's just like, just some stupid mistakes. Like that first interception, the one where he threw in the triple coverage.
Triple coverage. It's like, what are you doing?
Like,
and then that second one, you look at it, part of it, you're like, well, Omega Blake should have continued running that route, but also if you're Talon, be aware and adjust if you see him looking like he's not going to finish the route too.
Nah, you can't do that. No, like you can't say that because that ball is already out of his hands before he gives up on the route.
Right.
Right. So like he already crossed his face. That ball is out of Talon's hands.
Exactly.
And then whenever that DB tried to cross Omega Blake's face to, make a play on the ball, Blake just gave up. Like, at least if he fought, he gets a PI call right there.
Right.
So even if you don't catch it, show effort. And that's one of the reasons why this team isn't very good is because their effort sucks.
Right.
Not everybody, right? There's some people who are very good, but there's no reason to play like that. The defense looks better, but LSU also has a very, very bad defense. So, I don't know. It'll be
right. It's like, what else do you say that's
different
from all these other games we've talked about at this point? Like,
right.
Because it's the same old, same old. You look at all these games. Arkansas is in all these games except for, Notre Dame and Auburn. Other than
they were in it with Auburn. They had a 9-point lead. Yeah, the only one they weren't in it was Notre Dame.
In terms of thinking the specifically one score games, though, it's like if you could just somehow have just a tad bit better defense. We're not 2-8 right now, but you can't go back and change anything. So you're dealing what you're dealing with. And that's like you said, I think more or less everybody's like, they're going to turn it on and have it on, but not really expecting anything and more or less waiting to see who the new head coach is going to be. One thing I wanted to say, I was just going to say one thing I wanted to say, Transplant Texan had always mentioned it in the comments when he's able to hop on. How about the Courtney Crutchfield sighting we saw on Saturday?
Yeah. Nice. Whenever he went up and got that ball, I was like, who in the world just made that catch? Courtney Crutchfield. The dude's talented. I don't know why we haven't seen more of him. It's weird. But he's talented. To see him go up and get that like that. I mean, there's also another person we haven't really seen, like Antonio Jordan, who, has had that, hype before the season started. I think there's a lot of people who are like, well, they just want to clean house and have a completely different team. That's one, it's not going to happen. Two, there are some guys on this team with some real talent. If they just had the motivation, and if they had the motivation of a good coach, then maybe it'll be different. I mean, I don't want to lose Antonio Jordan. I don't think Antonio Jordan's going anywhere, by the way. I think that dude is all hog. The Warren kids are just different that way. Courtney Crutchfield might be going. Who knows? I don't have any inside information about that. I'm just thinking out loud, about his history and, switching to go to Mizzou when he was
out of high school
here, and then finally coming here. I wouldn't be surprised to see him leave. I would be very, very surprised to see Antonio Jordan leave. But either way, you want to have both of them here, because if you have both of them here, that's a decent start for a wide receiver room.
Right. Especially for a guy coming in.
Right.
But yeah, at the end of the day, just running through some numbers, Talon finished 11 of 19, 165 yards, those 2 interceptions. Mike Washington, 12 carries for 87 yards and a touchdown. Talon had 18 carries for a net of 68 yards and a touchdown. To your point, Raylan Sharp had 3 carries for 20 yards. You even saw Cam Settles come in the game, 1 carry for a yard. Rodney Hill, 1 carry for a loss. And then receiving wise, Raylan Sharp, 4 receptions for 65 yards. Jaden Platt, 2 for 26. Courtney Crutchfield, 1 for 26. Omega Blake, 1 for 17. CJ Brown, 1 for 16. Rodney Hill, 1 for 9. And Mike Washington, 1 for 6. Talk about CJ Brown for a minute. Early in the game, that one wide open touchdown that Talon overthrew CJ Brown that had a walk-in touchdown. Right. I mean, that's just, to me, the definition of this Arkansas season. not only you lose by consistently one possession games, and then you have stuff like that happen, whether it be a fumble. We saw that in this game. Taylor tried to toss it back to Mike Washington, and I don't know, he just doesn't catch the ball, and then you have a fumble, but then you overthrow.
Yo, let's
CJ
talk about
Brown.
that play for just a second. What? Okay. Why on earth would you toss the ball 2 feet on
Just
third
hand
and
it
short?
off.
Dude, just hand it off. The Taylor Green 6'6" with 7-foot arms. Like, just hand it off. Like, you want to go a little wide? How about you take a step a little wide? That pissed me off so bad. You said the overthrow in CJ Brown was everything this season put into a play. I think that first drive was Arkansas's a personification of Arkansas season. Looked so great until they got to the 20-yard line or wherever they were on the field, and then made a stupid mistake like that. Yeah. That is a personification of Arkansas season. That's just, I don't know.
I was about to say
that play alone should not let Bobby Petrino be head coach next year. I'll tell you that. Yeah. That was stupid.
And then you turn around and, we haven't talked about this yet. Scott Fountain in special teams, man, like you get a blocked punt for a touchdown right after that drive. You're just like, talk about a roller coaster game, because you're like, don't give me hope. Don't give me, this false sense of we might be potentially there, because I know good and well that, we're Arkansas, and the way the season's gone, this is just going to mess with me. And sure enough, that's what it does. You get excited. You get you get that blocked punt return for touchdown. You're like, okay, special teams showing up in this game. That's kind of like we talked about a few weeks ago with the Auburn game. Defense steps up and gives you a pick six, and then what do you do with it? Nothing. You still lose the game after, what we've been talking about all season. You want to see the defense step up. Well, there you go. Defense stepped up in the Auburn game, and you still lost. This game, special teams stepped up and made a play, and you still lost, and you couldn't do anything with it. Right. So,
yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. It's not the fact that Arkansas sucks, because let's be honest, they don't suck at everything. They just suck at winning. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? Like the casual people who don't watch any of the games, that just look at the win-losses, are like, oh, that team's horrible. I'm like, well, if we played your team, we probably beat your team. Like, if they're not in the SEC, if they are in the Big 12 or, Big 10 West, or what it used to be the Big 10 West, they're probably going to beat your team by probably 2 or 3 touchdowns. But you have one that has some kind of life, whatever, on offense, they beating you down, right? It just doesn't make any sense. And it's the what ifs. It's right. Like, what if Arkansas had a defense with a heartbeat? Like, what if we had a quarterback who is as good as Taylor Green is on a good day, but just has maybe, half the mistakes?
Right.
Arkansas is probably a college football playoff team.
I was about to say, the series you could do on what ifs, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, easily, it's like everybody says, best 2-8 team in the country right here. So, yeah, I mean, at this point,
it just doesn't make sense, man.
Yeah,
at this point, we should just talk basketball, because it's the same thing over and over again. It just doesn't make it, like, it gets old too. I mean, I got mad at that one dude, but now I'm getting mad at myself for having to talk about this.
Yeah.
Right? It's just over and over and over again. It just doesn't. It sucks.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like you said, we'll get on to some basketball talk. We do officially now, though, know a time for the game next week, 3:30 kickoff for Arkansas, Texas. We'll talk about it on Thursday. I mean, it'll be what it'll be. We'll talk about it, but yeah, We finally have a game time after Arkansas. I will credit the university football media team for the post they made a week or so ago about the date and time for the game. They said we'll play football at some point, because they said the game could be 2:30, 3:30, 6 o'clock, like any of those time slots. And so now we know it's going to be 3:30. So mid-afternoon kickoff in Austin next week, and we'll talk more about that on Thursday. Now we'll jump over to basketball. Arkansas gets the win Friday night over Samford, 79-75. Getting to this is my first game of the season, getting to be in attendance for. Went to that game, and Arkansas gets the win, and Samford, nothing against them, but this is a good test for Arkansas, a game which I feel like they probably should have won more than 4 points in this game, but a team that their head coach, if you remember how we struggled against Lipscomb last year, same head coach. He left Lipscomb with Samford, and continues to give Arkansas problems and fits, with whatever team he's coaching. But Arkansas finishes the game, wins 79-75 at home. Leading scorer for the game, Darius Acuff, no surprise there. Finishes with 20 points, 7 of 13 from the field, 2 of 3 from the three-point line, 4 of 5 from the free throw line, 3 rebounds, 5 assists in 31 minutes of action, followed up by Malik Thomas, 17 points, 5 of 13 from the field, 1 of 2 from deep, 6 of 6 from the line. He has 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 block, 2 steals in 36 minutes. In your top 30 leading scorer, Trevor Brazile, back from his back spasms in this game, scores 15, goes 6 of 14 from the field, 1 of 5 from deep, 2 of 3 from the line. He has 7 rebounds, 1 block in 23 minutes.
Yeah, and let's be clear, like offensively, it really wasn't the problem. They cooled off in the second half. They cooled off a lot in the second half. They took some ill-advised shots. They just weren't playing with a lot of effort, I guess. I mean, like, I hate to be, effort in this podcast, but I mean, it really wasn't that great. There were some times where guys were, jogging and not playing super well on defense and whatnot. But like you said, there was some scoring. I mean, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys in double digits. Knox didn't have a good night. Well, at least scoring wise, still 6 rebounds, 2 assists. But it just didn't feel like they wanted to be there and play, if that makes sense. I think it might have been a little bit of a hangover from the game before, or not the game before, but 2 weeks ago. Like, I think they had that problem against Central Arkansas, and they kind of had that problem against Stanford. They're just, a little off.
Well, I mean, you look at it, you mentioned talking about cooling off. So you look at the first half stats compared to the second half. First half, you're shooting 51.7% from the field, 45.5% from the three-point line. Second half, you come out and you shoot 39.4% from the field and 16% from deep. So, you really let off the gas. You let them fight their way back in it. And, I mean, like you said, defensively, the effort was there. It's like they had said on the post-game show, talking about how, we still have one of the better three-point defenses in college basketball. Really forced them on their threes. They have, having that leading scorer in the country, really shutting them down, because we held them to 10 of 29 from deep, forcing them to take a lot of uncomfortable shots. They did get some open looks, but they finished the first half with 40% and then dropped down to 28.6% from deep for Samford in the second half.
All right. And the thing is, they took more shots. It looks like, So they had 29 shots in the first, and then they had 33 in the second half. But here's the thing: it wasn't all 3-pointers either.
Right.
11 in the first half, 6 in the second. So I think they tried to make a point to not necessarily get more touches, but at least get paint touches. And because I feel like they've had some problems, especially against like Michigan State, where Michigan State just completely destroyed Arkansas in the paint, and Arkansas could hardly get in there. I think that might be what they were trying to do. Who really knows? But I do think that the score doesn't necessarily show how. Like I was never in doubt Arkansas was going to lose this game. They got within 4, got within 3, every once in a while, but it's just they were doing what they do, and they would get on these runs, and then all of a sudden, Sanford with they had some good guys. They got a guy who leads the NCAA in scoring. They had that sophomore that they kept talking about. Can't remember his name, but he obviously all of a sudden just had a great game. Things like that happen. So I'm not worried about this team. The one thing I am worried about was the effort. That's the big thing I'm worried about. As far as X's and O's, I think they'll be fine, but effort was really lacking.
Yeah. And yeah, I agree. That's the thing that we got to see continuously here. And Jaden Booth is who you're thinking of. That's the leading scorer. He was a transfer from Florida Southern. But the thing that looking at these stats and talking about this team, the thing that I want to see that we're going to have if Arkansas is going to be successful is if I'm looking at this stat line, we have got to have more out of Nick Pringle and Malik Ewan. 2 points between the two. At least that from that perspective, you got to have these guys in the paint scoring. Rebound wise, you got 1 from Pringle, so not a great night from him. 0 points, 1 rebound, 2 fouls in 18 minutes. Malik Ewan, you got 2 points, no rebounds, 2 fouls, and 1 block in 8 minutes. So, you've got to see more out of those guys. I mean, Trevor Brazile can't be your only big, contributing in multiple ways, 15 points, 7 rebounds. So, at what point do you think Cal, if these guys if these guys continue at this rate, at what point do you see Cal maybe try to play Zaffich more, or maybe one of these other guys that Samito that we talked about could be a dark horse guy? At what point does the lack of effort from Ewan and Pringle translate into somebody else getting more playing time? Or do you chalk this up to just a slow start to the season for them?
I more or less a slow start, but you got to also think whenever it comes to the scoring part of it, they have to be given the ball, right?
Right.
And you've got Malik Thomas and Darius Acuff who are really good with the ball in their hands. And then you have another big who is also really good with the ball in his hands. What I want to see out of them are rebounds.
Right.
Like, that's what you want from those guys. You want rebounds, good defense, maybe some good, higher on the blocks. I mean, Ewan was in there for 8 minutes and got a block. That's decent, right? But the 0 rebounds, that's not
acceptable.
That's not acceptable at all. Like, you need to be a little bit more physical in there. I can deal with them not scoring. I can't deal with them not getting rebounds. But as far as like getting other people to have playing time, I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to roll with what they've got, unless there's people that get hurt. That's the only way I think that Zaffich or Samito or anybody else gets into this game, because there is quite of a bit of gap in the skill between at least Zaffich and Pringle and Ewan. From what I saw, the limited minutes that I saw that Zaffich played in the early games, I just don't see him being a big factor this year at all.
Yeah.
So I think they have to roll with what they have.
Yeah. So looking back at it, at South Carolina last season, Pringle averaged 6.3 rebounds a game, and previous to that, Alabama 5.1. So, he's a guy that can go out there and get you 5 to 6 rebounds. And, we need to see that more. Malik Ewan is a guy that's surprised me a little bit from the, fact that he's not done more. Because last year at Florida State, he averaged 7.6 rebounds per game. So getting you nearly 8 rebounds a game.
But you also got to think about it this way. He was the only person in the back court, in the front court, that was any good. Now he's competing. You're on the same team, but still, whenever you go out for a rebound, you're competing against your own team too.
Right.
And
especially a guy like Malik Thomas that's not afraid to get in with the trees, if you will, and rebound. He led the team with 8 rebounds. So Malik Thomas is going to get in there and fight for the ball as well.
No, he leaves the team totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got 26. Let me make sure. Yeah, he's got 26 rebounds. That's insane.
For a guard, small forward type of player.
Yeah. 26 rebounds. Or not 26. Yeah, 26 rebounds. He averages 6.5 a game. Now, obviously, Trevor Brazile averages a little more at 6.7, but he was a game. He missed a game. And then
so you have to factor that in.
And then also you got Carter Knox. Hey, you know what? Maybe he had a good game one against UCA, but he kind of backed off. He's still going up there and getting boards, though, right?
Right.
He doesn't necessarily have to score, especially with the guys that we have, but he's got to give effort on the boards. And then you got Nick Pringle, who also has 6, so that's not bad. But you have Malik Ewan with 2.8 a game. Not very good.
Yeah, so. And it's like we talked about too. I think, once we get into more conference player, these higher tier games like Michigan State coming up, you've got Louisville, Duke, Houston, Texas Tech, all these games. Yeah, you're going to have Malik Thomas doing his thing. That's going to be clear. It's clear to me already the first, in these first handful of games of the season that almost on any given night, your odds would be pretty good if you wanted to bet that either Darius Acuff or Malik Thomas is going to be the leading scorer of this team, game in and game out. They're going to be at the top of the scoring sheet night in and night out. But, games like Michigan State where Malik Thomas is going to be able to do his thing, I still want to see Nick Pringle and Malik Ewan be more physical, especially against teams like that. That was clearly, the fault that we couldn't really overcome. To me, in the Michigan State game, that was kind of the big thing was they just out-physicaled us, and it showed. And so, like to your point, I can deal with maybe Nick Pringle, Malik Ewan not necessarily putting up crazy points, but hey, at least give me 5 to 6 rebounds apiece. Like whenever you guys sub in for each other. I know Cal mentioned trying to play them on the court at the same time as well. That way you have 2 bigger guys on the court. But that's something that we're going to have to adjust real fast. You've got 3 more games before you play Duke. So,
and here's the thing: this is true with any sport, right? The hardest game to prepare for is the first one.
Yeah,
for both teams, because especially if you're, I can't remember who Arkansas played first. Southern. If you're Southern and you're looking at Arkansas, or better yet, if you're Cincinnati and you're going into this exhibition game to play Arkansas, you literally have no idea what this team will look like. You don't know what they're coming in with or anything like that. You can do individuals, but whenever they're all on a new team, it's going to act different, right? They're going to have different strategies. They're going to have different strengths and different weaknesses. And the more games you play, the more tape you have so other people can strategize against you. Now, here's the chess match. Once that happens, you got to make adjustments. And I think that's probably what's happening right now is that people are getting film. They're having a little bit more idea of how to beat Arkansas or how to slow them down. And then Arkansas needs to go and adjust. And I mean, they're going to do it. John Calipari doesn't, have the history that he does without being able to make changes like that. So, like I said, I think they'll be fine. I think there's some troubling stuff, but there's nothing that can't be fixed.
Right.
So,
yeah,
it's not like Arkansas football where they're just cursed, right? That can't be fixed. Unless I don't know. They can't be fixed this season anyway.
Yeah. And so, Arkansas does manage to get that win. Like I said, we've got 3 more games before we head to Chicago to take on Duke. So, a couple of things to get figured out. Like we said, things to continue to improve on. But looking forward, so Arkansas will be back in action on Tuesday as they take on the Winthrop Eagles. They are 2-2 on the season, with wins over Queens, who Arkansas will be playing later on the season. Losses to George Mason and Coastal and a win over Mercer. Kind of a look into that roster. They're led by their points and rebounds leader is their guard, Dalen Berry. He's averaging 29 minutes a game with 17.8 points a game and 6 rebounds. And then assists leader, steals leader, their other guard, Kareem Rozier, 29.5 minutes a game, 13.3 points with that 4.5 assists. So, this is going to be another game where I think it's going to be Arkansas's backcourt versus theirs. And, I'll easily take Arkansas's in most any matchup all season. You look at they will have an inside presence. Logan Duncombe, in the 4 games this season, he's averaging 21 minutes a game, 12.3 points, 5.5 rebounds, and half a block per game. So, you've got some, again, we know the talent level is going to be above and beyond for Arkansas compared to Winthrop, but there's going to be some players that you're going to want to look out for on this Winthrop Eagles team.
Yeah, and like even whenever you go into these mid-major teams, like they're mid-majors, but John Calipari put them on this schedule for a reason. Like there's not an easy game at all on this. Like most of these teams are projected to be like to win their conference or be in the top 2 or 3 of their conference. So it's like, of course, there's going to be guys that you got to watch out for. Like Booth was one of those guys you had to watch out for on Friday. At the same time, Arkansas is much, much more athletic and talented than most of the teams on their non-conference. Of course, that's not talking about Duke or Louisville or anything like that. They're
right.
going to be pretty well even with them. By the way, Louisville beat Kentucky, so that'll be a good game, I think, coming into to Budwalton Arena. Hopefully, we can get some fans there and get that place rocking. How was it, by the way? You said that was your first time this year going.
It left some to be desired. I was surprised that there wasn't more turnout on a Friday night. Especially for being an away football game. I would have expected more people there, but Laura Bold, I would say decently filled. Some open seats. Would love to see it be more filled, a little bit more rowdy type environment. But at the end of the day, I guess you do have to consider it Samford. But at the end, my viewpoint is it shouldn't matter who you're playing. You should be able to, get out there and go if you can. So,
right. And at the same time, there were still moments that Arkansas and Samford were really close. And that's usually where Bud Walton, comes alive, is whenever it gets close and it's good and they need your help. and it just didn't have that feeling, right? There just wasn't a lot of electricity in that building.
Yeah.
So hopefully that turns around, at least by the time they play Louisville.
I was about to say, I don't know what we have to do to get more people there. I don't know if there needs to be a change in, like, I know things have been over the few years, the way they've done and things like that is things are a lot more scripted. They have a lot more, oh, we got to do this sponsor ad read, or we got to do this type of announcement type thing. So it's got very corporatized, I guess, maybe the right word. But like it seems like, and that they've taken the approach of, maybe some professional games, NBA games, about how they do things. And I think we need to get back to some of the just classic, things that were done, 10, 12 years ago, where it really made Bud Walton an environment that was fun to be in.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's like that with everything. The game day environments. Now, that's not talking about baseball. Baseball, it's kind of
Baseball's
like
different. Good luck stopping
baseball.
any type of environment that you have here at Arkansas. It's one of the best that you can ever
Yeah,
be at.
right. And the thing is, it's because baseball, the environment of baseball is really kind of tame compared to some of the really good environments in football and basketball. And I'm not talking about necessarily the people or like the crowd, because Arkansas's got some raunchy, not raunchy, but ruckus,
I was about to
right?
say,
They've
take a
got a
step in the
big
hog pen in baseball season.
right. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, you know, the music that they play and the little games that they do, like all that is standardized pretty much across
Right.
baseball. I mean, there's little differences here and there, but if you talk about football, look at Arkansas's game day experience versus South Carolina's, right? Especially night games. Like it's insane. It's it's just different.
Right.
Hell, I saw a video of a high school who they had fire trucks in the background doing lights, and they had the stadium lights going on and off, and they had smoke coming out. I'm like, why is that almost better than what Arkansas puts out every single Saturday?
Right.
Like they can do a lot more. Baseball, it's kind of like, hey, we know what we're getting into. You go to a baseball game to have that experience, right? You do the 7th inning stretch. You do, the take me out to the ballpark, all that stuff. That
In
is
Arkansas's
like
case, the beer hats
nostalgia,
for bases loaded,
right?
stuff like that.
Yeah, like all that is like nostalgic stuff. Basketball and football, they kind of don't have. They don't meet the industry standards. Baseball does. Basketball, football, they really don't.
Right. And he stepped it up a notch. Even, we talked to him last year during part of the season. Even gymnastics gets hyped up. We talked to hype man Corey that he's going to be back again this season. Gymnastics will be here before you know it. But, even then, gymnastics and Bud Walton is hyped up, and you have a lot of people in attendance, and it's just a fun environment.
Right.
So, yeah, hopefully, as the season goes, and more than likely as the season goes, higher tier, higher level opponents come in, Bud Walton, you'll have a little bit more crowd there, crowd energy, turnout, things like that. So I hope that's the case. Like I said, Arkansas will be back in action Tuesday, November 18th against Winthrop at 7 o'clock. That'll be on SEC Network. And can we take a minute to talk about, even though, it is what it is, we'll probably see a spike soon, but I was finally glad to see some type of deal happen where I can watch football on TV, on my YouTube TV.
Yeah, I was too. I
mean, we were talking before the basketball game about, hey,
yeah,
what's the plan here?
yeah.
And it's like, oh, wait a minute. Right before the game, the deal broke, and they're like, okay, deal settled. The channels are back.
Yeah, but the thing is, I still couldn't watch it on the ESPN app, right? Logging in with my YouTube TV stuff, I couldn't watch the Stanford game on that. So I had to do something a little fishy, I guess you could say, to watch it. I don't care though. ESPN and Disney, they suck. So, but yeah, no, I got to watch it. I got to watch football on YouTube TV, so that was nice. That was very
Right.
nice.
Finally getting to watch College Game Day on Saturday morning. Like,
I mean, I say it's nice. It was nice to watch college football, but it was not nice to watch Arkansas college football.
There you go. Just the fact that
Like,
you had those options to watch college football on your TV, that you could wake up Saturday and turn on Game Day finally.
Right. And I had someone say, hey, how do you like not having to write so many articles, during game day? I was like, oh, it's so awesome. I said, except that I still watch this game. It's great, except I still watch it. Yeah. At least I don't have to write anything about it. I can like clear my mind afterwards.
Right. Not have to focus on it even after the game's over and whatnot.
Right.
But yeah. Quick little updates across other Arkansas sports. Arkansas women's basketball suffered their first loss of the season this afternoon as they're on the road at Texas Tech. They lost 80-68 in that one, a close one there, but they'll return home Thursday to play Little Rock in Bud Walton. So they are, sitting at a nice 4-1 on the season in Coach Music's first season at Arkansas. So they'll be back in action Thursday playing Little Rock. And then our women's soccer team is advanced and moved on to this next round of the NCAA tournament in their bracket. So, they took on and beat Dartmouth. And then now they will move on to take on Washington.
Yes, sir. Just 3 more games to win before they can finally get past the Elite Eight.
Right.
So.
I was about to say Arkansas went into the tournament as the 5 seed. So they're taking on Washington as a 4. That Washington's a 4 seed, and then they'll play the winner of either Penn State or Virginia, and that's a 1 versus an 8 seed matchup on their side of the bracket. So,
yeah,
that next game will be Thursday at 2:00. Oddly enough, so you have to watch that one while you're working.
Yeah, well, I can't do it while I'm working, but
fair.
Y'all can. People who sit down can watch while they're working.
Yeah. So with that, we'll get ready to wrap up here. Quick little check-in after this weekend. How do you feel that your weekend went on the pick'ems this weekend, Austin?
Good. I caught up by 1 game.
Is it the game I said I'd give you?
Yeah. Yeah. To be fair, Hawgs also missed on it too. So, but
I was about to say we picked a lot of the same games, and
right.
Cincinnati ended up getting the win over Arizona. Shockingly, Oklahoma went in and beat Alabama. We talked about that as being a possibility. East Carolina showed up and beat Memphis. Memphis is just fading from the college football playoff hopes as they continue to add losses. Georgia beat Texas, no surprise there. We were wrong on Kennesaw State. Should have took Jacksonville State.
Yeah.
BYU hung 44 on TCU, winning 44-13 in that one. And then, San Diego State beats Boise 17-7.
Yeah. Hang on, let me go. The one that I want to know, because I didn't actually check it. So Iowa nearly pulled it off. That's the one I was thinking about switching, other than Oklahoma, I mean. But yeah, and I told you, the BYU, I said they win by 2 scores. They won by a lot more than 2 scores. So, Yeah, no, it's I really like this week's lineup. I thought it was much other than the Kennesaw, Jackson State. This was much better than the week before.
Yeah. As we look across the SEC, can we talk about for a minute the choke job that South Carolina did Saturday?
Yeah,
South
like
Carolina loses to Texas A&M 31-30, where they went into halftime of that game up 30-3, and they scored 0 points in the third and fourth quarter. They even had the
that
ball
was
late in the
fun.
game for a drive where all they had to do was get in field goal range to kick a field goal to win by 2. And they take a sack, and then they go for it on fourth down, and Lenore Sellers scrambles a little bit and gets nowhere near the first down and turns it over on downs.
Yeah, that's insane. That and here's the thing,
South Carolina, you had one job.
Marcel, right? Here's the thing, though. I haven't been a big fan of Marcel Reed, but that might be his Heisman moment. Like if he can finish his season out and do good in the college football playoffs, he may be the front runner for the Heisman. I know Fernando Mendoza is, which is a insane sentence to talk about whenever you see what he did where he was before. I think he was Cal, right? He was at Cal. Yeah, it wasn't great. I mean, they did okay, but he's not someone that I would think would be there.
Right.
But between him, Ty Simpson, and Marcel Reed probably is who's going to win that Heisman.
Right. And I was about to say, you look at Marcel Reed's stats on the day from Saturday, 22 of 39, 439 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and he also had 7 carries for 13 yards.
Right. And I say that it's Heisman moment because he did so much to hurt himself, but then just turned it around and
in the second half.
Made a right and came back and won the game. So that's, you got to hand it to him. I mean, they did good.
Yeah. I was about to say, and then we talked about it. Oklahoma beats Alabama 23-21. Georgia beats Texas 35-10. Ole Miss beats Florida 34-24, where this game was actually surprisingly close. Florida was up in this game 24-20 up until the fourth quarter, where Ole Miss does its thing and scores 14 points to put the Gators away. Tennessee, they had their cupcake. New Mexico State 42-9 victory for them. Same thing for Kentucky.
By the way, their unity combos were disgusting. Like everyone's talking about how bad Arkansas was, theirs was disgusting.
I was about to say, the longer I watched our game, the less I hated ours.
Yeah, I actually saw it. And I didn't like it whenever I envisioned it at first, but
then you actually see them out there.
Yeah, I saw it and I was like, I mean, it's too much like Stanford. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I didn't hate it. I do hate the white Razorback logo. I do hate that. I like the red one. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I didn't hate it. There's a lot of people like, oh, this is disgusting. I'm like, well, it's not
could
bad.
Be worse. You could be Tennessee.
Could be a lot worse. Yeah, that was what it was. They had their black tops with the smoky gray bottoms.
Smoky gray pants, yeah.
Yeah, it looked disgusting. That looked gross.
I was about to say, and then you had Kentucky beat Tennessee Tech 42-10. And then Missouri took care of Mississippi State 49-27, where Ahmad Hardy, the running back for Missouri, 25 carries for 300 yards on the ground and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, that dude, Ahmad Hardy he's probably, I mean, we're talking about Heisman contenders. If the dude keeps doing stuff like that, I mean, that might be his Heisman moment. But we also thought that was D-Mac against South Carolina back in the day, but that didn't, happen.
So game plan around Ahmad Hardy. Not that it matters for Arkansas' sake, but if you're going to focus on somebody, focus on Ahmad Hardy. I don't know. It'll be a game. Arkansas will give us hope. Then they'll throw it away. I'm just to the point. Let's get through this Missouri game so we know who the new coach is going to be and kind of kind of maybe start getting hyped about that.
Yeah, and I mean, depending on who you talk to, they may already have their guy, but
I was about
I
to say,
don't
let's
know. I
talk
don't
about
really.
that for a minute. So the latest on the coaching search, we talked about it Thursday. Everything blew up over the week about James Franklin, this and that, and then stuff comes out Saturday about Virginia Tech making a push and kind of wanting to not put an ultimatum out there, but they're wanting to get a deal done within the next few days. And there's been talks with James Franklin, but then some people are like, oh, it's just smoke. It's Jeremy Sexton, that type of situation. And then there's other news out there saying, hey, Arkansas's got its guy. It's they're happy with it. It's not anybody was ever thinking about it. We were talking about it right before the
It'll
show.
surprise you.
Yeah,
Like
we were talking about before the
what
show. Is this going to
that
be
a good
another
surprise or a bad surprise?
right? We were talking about it before the show where you said could be a Coach Cal situation where we were talking about I saw the whole breakdown comparison of it where before we knew it was Cal, for a moment there we really thought it was going to be Chris Jans from Mississippi State or ULR's coach that played for Arkansas. And
Darryl
then
Walker, yeah.
Darryl Walker, yes. And then out of nowhere, you're like, oh, it's Coach Cal. And so, could this be the same type situation? It's like all this smoke around, oh, it's James Franklin. Oh, it's the latest that came out was we're talking to Coach O.
George Ron.
Yeah. So it's like, who's going to be that type of person that comes out that we didn't even think about that, they kind of actually did throw the smoke in lockdown.
Right. And I was telling you, I don't believe that really. Like it just doesn't feel right to me. Like it feels like they were really going hard after James Franklin, and then all of a sudden you have like the Chuck and Bo show people, like their producer Brett Pullman, saying we were actually never going after James Franklin. That was dumb. Like obviously you were. Like it was like people don't just lie. There are not that many people go and just lie about it.
Right.
Like this is the university trying to spin it. And they I don't want to say burn bridges because they've already been doing that already, but they're making fun of the local media for it. I'm like, dude, like they are trying to go in there and figure this out. You guys get paid by the university, right?
Yeah.
It just like you're the least credible people. For that reason only, you're the least credible people in Arkansas media because you get paid by the university.
I was about to say, you're going to say what they tell you to say.
Right. I mean, when I say least, you are the least credible out of anybody in Arkansas media. I'm talking about the guy on the random dude on Twitter that says, hey, I know everything, who's never written an article or been on a podcast or anything. They have more credibility than Chuck and Bo because they don't get paid by the university. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And so,
but at the same time, how I don't really believe that's it. If the rumors are true that it's the boosters doing this and John Tyson is also leading the boosters, he may try to do the same formula he did with Cal. So that's the only saving grace of that rumor. That's the only reason why I'm not discounting it, whole cloth, is because John Tyson is leading this thing again. So
right.
I don't know.
All that smoke out there thinking it's going to be X or Y or Z, and then here you come out of left field with Coach whoever. So
right.
So
yeah, I mean it'll be strange. As long as they get a head coach, I think I'll be fine.
Right.
Like I got my heart set on and I got my heart set on James Franklin. I knew I shouldn't have. I didn't give my hopes up. I knew that they were going at him really hard. I'm still not entirely convinced he ends up at VT, but he probably will. But I think it would be really funny if he didn't end up at Virginia Tech. I'm just with all of them talking.
Let Virginia Tech get Jimmy Sexton.
Yeah, that would be really funny. I think it would be really funny. But either way, I think whoever Arkansas does get, it'll be fine. I think they're going to have the backing. At least most of the boosters are going to have their backing because I think they just didn't want Sam Pittman to have it, which I think you're stupid if that's the reason why. Like it shouldn't be dependent on the coach, right? You get to the program. You want the program to succeed, you get to the program.
Right.
If the coach sucks, then he's going to get fired no matter what. But now you have people that don't believe that you're going to put up that money.
Right. And that could, be a reason but some candidates are scared away from the job is because they saw what happened. They're like, well, am I going to come in? Am I going to get the funding that I need to actually do something? So.
Right.
So. Well, with that, we kind of hit everything. Anything else you got before we decide to get out of here?
No, sir. I think that's about it.
Yeah. So we're going to wrap up. We'll be back here Thursday to talk about Texas week, recap Arkansas versus Winthrop, and get ready for Arkansas versus Jackson State. But before we get out of here, don't forget to like and subscribe to the show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. That way you don't miss any time we go live. Like I said, we'll be back Thursday. For Austin, myself, we're going to get out of here. Everybody have a great start to your week. Good rest of your Sunday night, and we'll see you on Thursday.